raise this, more white. If I lower it, more black. So let's try and find that balance again. Yeah, and that looks good. So if I wanted to add in a bit more warmth to this shot, I would go to color balance. I would add this in, and I would just try and increase those reds. Now, it's quite difficult with this shot because we don't have a lot of natural red in the shot. So it might be something I have to possibly fiddle around with. See, now you'll see if I increase the reds to about here, possibly, that's too artificial. And that's something we don't want. We don't want artificial colour necessarily in there. It was something we had to mess around with the cafe scene, which I'll show you later. But we want to try and avoid that at all costs, really. Going into this shot as a basic fade. These shots here, now the SnorriCam shots, obviously we were very proud of. I will try and pop a picture in roughly now of how we did it. And it was something that we were really proud of that we found out because we'd only figured it out a few days before filming. So it was actually quite, an interesting thing to try out on the day. We just used 2 belts and hooked it round the tripod. And it actually worked really well for close-ups. Given the Irrational Fear of Nothing shots, we felt it was important to get close-ups in just to sort of contrast that. And I feel that the transitions here, so he looks right. As you'll see at the end of this shot, I will play it frame by frame for you. He's looking right at the end of this shot. He turns there. So that sort of matches up here. So he's turning right, he's looking to turn around, and then it transitions over. That was something I was quite proud of when we did that, when I did that in editing. Obviously, this is going to be more of a focus on video more than sound. I'm not sure. I've never used OBS before in the broadcasting, so I'm not sure if this actually picks up the sound in the film. But this will be more of a focus on the video editing side of things. We kept colours pretty much the same, I think, for these shots. We were just happy. We just increased contrast a bit. Yet again, there you go. There's your transition. He's got his head turned to the right in this shot. He's got his head turned to the right. So that was very important that we got the continuity in, I felt, and it actually adds a lot to the film that is, sort of could be overlooked if you didn't look frame by frame. So now this is the first example of a fossil shot cutting into the film. Now this was also based on feedback. Vanessa felt that we should have more focus on the fossil and that being a safe item, just to highlight his anxiety. So if we play through this, the way we recorded it was just his hand and a close-up, just because that was the easiest way to portray it, and cutting in and out of shot we felt was good. Yeah, again, this is a Irrational Fear of Nothing shot. We've got it following him. It was quite hard to keep this camera straight here, but I felt Greg did a very good job on the general filming side of things, and there are some really good shots in here from Irrational Fear of Nothing side. Here, this is good as well. We only see a minuscule look from our actor, Max, so which makes him turn, and luckily Greg has managed to stay almost out of shot. He is spotted here, but you would have to be paying quite close attention to the reflection to actually see that, which is good. So then he walks off, obviously, and that is the end of day 1, I think. Yeah, that is the end of day 1. So then he wakes up the next day. This is all done here a bit faster. We didn't want the whole dressing scene here. We felt that that would slow the film down too much, so we've gone with just him putting his coat on and going outside. In the first day, this shot wasn't in as he was getting food from the cafe, so we sort of left that out. Yeah, again, Irrational Fear of Nothing and fossil shots were used. We felt this was like our bread and butter pretty much for the film, as we were taking a lot of inspiration from Irrational Fear of Nothing. So we felt that it wouldn't be right to have too many SnorriCams. I think they're in there 3 occasions, possibly. First day in the cafe, and that's it. Possibly, yeah, it might just be the first day in the cafe actually. So maybe we underused those shots. I'm not too sure. It's down. We'll have to see based on the screening, pretty much. That was a little bit of continuity there as well. I'm not sure if this will go noticed in the screening, but as you can see here, Max has got the glass up, and then as we transition into this shot, the glass is still up here. I'd love to say this was intentional, but it really wasn't. we tried quite I mean, we were obviously trying for continuity, but this particular part was sheer luck. I think that was the shot that we got across the two things. We wanted to highlight the sort of not the relationship, but the sort of longing that Adam has for us to be normal and to be like that kid. And we did highlight that with audio. But I think that this actually does quite a good job, this shot, of the fact that we transition from him outside to Max inside, and obviously the continuity is a plus. Here we get him to look again, and he walks off. This was a shot we were actually really proud of, and it turned out really well. Because when I think this hasn't actually been edited, the colours on this, you can see that that's just down to Greg editing the camera settings sort of to adjust to the light there, because these lights match up quite well, I believe. So we've got, you know, the same sort of lighting there, even though we're inside a cafe here and he's outside there. So Greg's done quite a good job of managing the white balance and the light and the saturation on those shots. Once again, he wakes up. We just go straight for a tie, and the tying up and the coat on this time. We felt that was a bit longer, and it switches up obviously from the second day. Yet again, we're going with Irrational Fear of Nothing here. We probably could have chucked in a Snorri cam in one of these shots just to switch up a bit, but I think the audio actually takes over a lot, and I don't know if you can hear it, but that does take over quite a lot. We then decided to go POV for one shot, just to sort of whack that in there. We were going to do a lot more in POV actually, when we were looking at test shot sequences and storyboards, but we felt that the Snorri cam and the Irrational Fear of Nothing shots were actually better, and the POV was a bit too much. So we've done well with the opening there, and you'll actually see there's continuity there again. When he opens the door, goes out to about there. I don't know if you can see it, but we'd know, obviously we were at the location. But the door is at the same position when he walks in here, if you know what I mean. So when he pushes the door open for POV, it's actually at the same point when we transition into Snorri cam. Now this was quite a difficult sort of shot to manage. As you can see, this shot is way too black when he comes in, and you can barely see his face. We're sort of hoping this goes unnoticed, but we doubt it will, and it probably will be something that will be picked up and we'll get marked down for, is that this is too black, this shot, which we tried to correct here with colours. So what we've done is this shot originally, obviously, we upped the saturation. I'll try and show you now. Yeah, so we tried to mess around with things like white balance and adding brightness into our shots here and here, adding contrast. We reduced the amount of reds as well because it was too warm, and it's just quite a difficult shot to manage, to be honest, because the way the cafe is laid out, the front is very dark and the back is very warm in its colours. It's very orange, so managing the transition from that was quite difficult. We felt that the Snorri cam shot was actually the best one for him going in out of all the ones we filmed, so that is the one we stuck with. As you can see here, we're trying to match up colours in between shots and make sure it's not too warm, which you can see there. It's quite difficult to actually manage that. And obviously we had to try and make everything look the same. I feel that we've done a good job from sort of this point onwards, roughly. This matches all these shots ahead, but this opening bit is very difficult to manage based on the location. The front of the cafe is very contrastingly different colours to the back of the cafe, where we filmed the rest of the scenes. So this sort of matches here fine. I really think that it was good that we went with a tripod shot as well for this bit, as too much Irrational Fear of Nothing and Snorri cam shots would have been a bit too unstable. So I'm glad that we actually had a sort of rested tripod shot here, just to get a sense, you know, that we're still and he's sat down and he's trying to calm himself down, which sort of contrasts the audio quite well. Looking furthermore into this, obviously we've gone with a close-up here. I felt we've done well with that, and we've transitioned from the front here to a close-up to the back of his head. Again, I feel we've done that well. So then, obviously, this is the point where he starts freaking out and he doesn't think he can do it, which is why he then gets up in this shot. We've then used continuity here. He is rising here and still rising there. So the continuity's been done quite well there again. Transition into Snorri Cam here, just to get a sense of change, and it should continue into Snorri Cam. So as you can see, as I'm playing this through frame by frame, you can really see the difference in colour. What I'll try and do is show you this shot here. Just 2 seconds. This here. So you can tell there's a lot of lights here. As we get closer to the window, you've got the light seeping in from the from the outside, and that sort of messed with our colour balance, and it made it quite difficult to edit in the end. So that was something that we really stumbled upon as a problem quite early on. And we wanted to use Snorri Cam mainly here because we felt that was the best shot again, and it gets the most emotion on his face, that he's stressed out and he's worried, and he sort of doesn't want to look at anyone. You can see his eyes are constantly like looking down. So we felt that was the best edit one we could do.